Yaap, the API platform company that powers next generation of banking and payment products, has announced its first financing round. A clutch of super angels led by Amrish Rao contributed to the 10 crore rupees round. Now, to know more about the venture, joining me now in the studio is Madhusudan R, co-founder of Yaap. Madhusudan, many thanks for joining us on Startup Street. Now, you've received funding from India's leading fintech entrepreneurs.
That's right.
10 crore rupees. Where and how do you plan to utilize the funds?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us here, Shruti.
Sure.
It's in fact, it's a great Friday. Thank God for this amazing Friday, and we are here to announce our funding round led by Super Angels. I think we have been at this business for almost about little over 4 years, and we have been growing the business as a bootstrapped entity. And it's important in a startup's journey to figure out who you take on board to get yourself to the next level. And we have been fortunate to sort of get endorsement from leading angels. It's not so much about the money that they are contributing. It's about the value that they sort of bring to the table in terms of being there, done that, being in the trenches to really execute at scale.
So they give you a validation of sorts, right?
That's right, yeah.
So where do you plan to utilize the funds?
So we have been a 65 member team. We naturally rapidly sort of want to grow our team strength. As well as this whole theme of neo-banking that is picking up in India. We would want to build new products, new capabilities where we can extend to our fintechs.
So you spoke about developing new products. Take us through some of those.
Yeah, so we have been at the center of the APIification of banking and payments. By that, what I mean is, 15 years ago, if you were to launch a technology company anywhere in the world, you will spend 60–70% of your funding in just buying hardware. Right?
Sure.
Today, you could do that with a $100 credit card, right? So the infrastructure play that has led for AWS to actually extend at scale computing capability at a fraction of the cost that it used to be 15 years ago, is what banking and payments are going through right now, right? So we are the early sort of players in that space where we want to build the infrastructure.
All right, so fintech is a buzzing sector right now. You've got a lot of competition here. What would you say is your USP? What is that big problem that you're solving that nobody else is looking at?
Yeah, I think the infrastructure, people don't actually relate to it as much as what you see in the B2C kind of opportunities, because it's very visible. India has been at the forefront of a number of things on payments. We are probably the largest player in the number of things that are happening in the market. So it's imperative for us to actually get the base fundamental infrastructure play really sorted. And you don't have actually many players. We are in a uniquely sort of position, place where you don't have many players in the market.
All right. Speaking of, being uniquely positioned, Yaap works with banks on one side, developing technologies for them so that they can offer their products over APIs, to businesses. And then on the other side, you also work with fintech players, helping them develop their banking products. So what's the revenue model? What's the revenue share?
Yeah. So we are sitting in the middle, trying to make this work. So we become a very important piece of the entire jigsaw. Obviously, we have certain revenue models, and this being a new sort of platform play, a number of things that are getting tested. So there is some models where we make a share of the transaction revenues, but India as a market, nobody pays for any of the services, right? So it's really about extracting value in terms of whatever services that we are rendering. Multiple models of revenues that we actually sort of look out to.
All right, so Yaap is a profitable business today. 2019, in fact, saw a 300% growth over previous year. You processed over 2 billion in annual payments. Then there were 50 million transactions. What is the potential that you see for the venture? What is the potential of the sector, really?
So I think we are at a point where you see a lot of investor interest coming back to very, very core, banking play, right? The neo-banking, if you look at about at least a dozen companies that have got funded, you will see a lot of action. UPI as an example grew to a billion transactions, a trillion transactions, in a very, very short span of time. Likewise, you'll have that ripple effect and the network effect playing out in the market. So we see ourselves growing at 100 to 200, 300% for the next 3 to 4 years.
So but there have been a couple of driving factors, for this kind of growth that you're talking about, with the government's vision really of transforming India into a cashless economy, robust payment structure, availability of structured data, and then of course the shift in consumer pattern. So what are the trends that you see going forward?
Yeah, so we have got to a point where the price or the technology is not the arbitrage. It will boil down to what experiences customers are getting. So we will become more and more greedy about what kind of services that we can get better and the value at which we can sort of get that.
All right. So out of the fintech entrepreneurs that participated in the round, I believe Amrish Rao, who was former head at PayU, is now on your board. So what is the kind of partnership you're hoping to have with him? What does he bring to the table?
Absolutely. I think it's a great validation, as I said earlier, of what we are actually trying to do. Also, the fact that when you have somebody who's been doing that for many years, it helps us to sort of really go back to them and seek that guidance, which is very critical, and it makes a make or break in a a company's journey.
All right, Madhusudan, we wish you the very best. Thank you for joining us on Startup Street. Appreciate your time.